Hi there and welcome to Budget Model Railways, and I thought I'd return to another layout I built a while ago. So this layout is only 22 inches by 11 inches, so it's very similar in fact to the shelf challenge that I did, but I built it slightly before. Now there are a few videos on how I made this. I'm not going to go on about that an awful lot, because if you are interested then please go back and look at the previous videos. But what it was an attempt to build a workable operational layout in a smaller space, not just a novelty layout. And I've been doing a bit of thinking recently because I've got exactly the same track plan on my larger US layout that's using first radius track, and I was toying with doing some more micros and realised I'd got this one. And this works for all sorts of reasons. It's worth pointing out that it would be 4 foot long if it was an end-to-end, so you have to kind of think of it as an end-to-end with a loop. Why does this track plan work? Well, it works, as I've discussed in a number of videos, because I've got the ability to do this. I can watch trains go round. What I've also got the ability to do, I'm a bit cack-handed here because of filming, so you'll have to bear with me a little bit. I've also got the ability to store so this track is only 9.5 inch diameter. So this is made possible by the Kato pocket line range because they will go around these kind of radiuses. It works. I can then run it. I also use the Kato wagons because they're very free running. So I can run my passenger trains round. I can stop them at the station. I can watch them go round. If I ignore that there's bits sort of a little bit off scene, then I can also run trains either way through the station. Now the big siding at the back there, I've got a buffer stop on, but you could just as easily, of course, run that off to a fiddle yard, and that would then mean that you could run a selection of trains through the layout, and I'm probably going to look at that now as an addition to this layout, so look out for that in a future video. But it still again shows that this track plan is the right track plan. I've got exactly the same thing on my US layout, where I've got a siding that can then feed off into a fiddle yard if I want to. Now this layout was originally designed to use effectively the other way round, but it was looking at it the other day when I realised that it works much better this way round, because I've got the passenger station at the front, and it works because I copied continental practice. So I've got my island platform in the middle that's accessed from the station. This then becomes a goods siding. You could use it as a bay if you wanted to run largely passenger services, but it means I can shunt here. Now what I'm doing is I'm using my photo cards, so I just shuffle those. I use distinctive wagons so I don't have to number the wagons. I pick 3 cards and I need to get those wagons in that order. There we go, and I can do that quite happily. We'll have a go, and we'll have a go here. Generally, as soon as I start trying to shunt, everything goes wrong, so you'll have to bear with me a minute. I'm going to run that back. I'm going to take this off of here. Yeah, it's because I'm being a bit cack-handed here. I can't get where I would normally like to get. Yeah, you have to bear with me a second. There we go. Usually these are great couplings, but I'm not at the right angle to do this. There we go. Yes, so that needs to go in there. I stopped on the point. You have to be a little bit careful. Generally these will run over points quite happily, but this one needs a bit of a run. Yeah, I'm being quite cack-handed today. I'm not a big fan of shunting videos for this very reason, that I tend to find the minute I start trying to record, I've been out here shunting quite happily for half an hour to make sure that this would all run quite happily. But it doesn't help that I'm all sorts of funny angles. In fact, we want those 2 wagons, so we're going to leave the brake van at the end. And yes, it is running a little fast, I know. Let's see what we can do here. We can get this in. Uncouple this one. And this is really just to demonstrate that even with, I've got 5 wagons and a brake van, you can still do quite a bit of shunting. I also find trying to talk and shunt doesn't help. But I think it's important just to show the shunting, to show that even with a very simple, yeah, I am really cack-handed with this today. Please don't fill my inbox with saying this is the trouble with Engage. It's not. It's because I'm trying to lean over the camera, and which is all the wrong sort of angles. There we go. Now we should then have the 3 wagons that I want. Yes, I have. So I can couple up my brake van, and off I can go. Oh, it's a bit quick. So, not as smooth as I would like. I say, as soon as I start filming, things tend to go wrong. I've got to lean over, which I wouldn't normally do. I'd normally be sat right close to it. But it does show the amount of versatility, the operating potential. You only need a few wagons and some cards. I can also shunt this siding if I want to turn the layout round, and I can shunt that siding, both as tuning forks. And obviously, because these two are the same facing, I can shunt both of those. So I could leave some wagons here, shunt some in there, and come back round. And I'll try that actually a bit later when I'm not trying to film. And I did try that on the American layout, which is a bigger version. And that gives you quite a lot of shunting potential. It's also a very nice scenic layout. So this was the one I did to look a bit more autumnal. So I've just used some autumn scatter on the trees. I have ballasted and weathered the track. I've got quite a nice little station there. I've got an integral controller. It's not quite in the right place for operating from this side. It was designed for operating from the other side, but it still works okay. So we've gone a little bit out of focus. There we go, that's better. So a lot of static grass, quite a lot of nice detail. This really, so in a layout that if you want to be roughly, it's you know, approximately 2 foot by 1 foot. If this was your only layout and the only layout you had room for, you've got very reliable locomotives, you can do shunting, you can run a few passenger trains. So it does give you a lot of operating potential in a small space. And I wanted to show really that it's a proper, that brake van keeps derailing on that point for some reason. It is a Pico one, it probably wants a bit of weight. Here we go, I'll run the passenger train around for a little while. A little tram, and I've got 3 of those, the more modern one as well, and a yellow one of those. So really what I wanted to say with this video is don't think that these micro layouts are novelties. They're often exhibited as novelties. This isn't. This is a fully working model railway layout that's only 2 foot by 1 foot. Now bear in mind, if you extended that to 00, it would still only be 4 foot by 2 foot. And I've built quite a few of those. So think about that one, that if Engage isn't your sort of thing, you could do this in 00, using FlexiTrack, using the 040 locos and some short wagons, and still have a very nice layout in a very small space, about 4 foot by 2 foot. So I'm quite taken with this as a micro layout, but as I say, I wanted to do a quick video that showed operationally there's a lot you can do with this. You could run a timetable on this, especially if you put a fiddle yard on the back. You could have passenger trains going both ways. You can shunt in 2 or 3 places, really quite a lot. And if you had a nice variety of wagons and locos, I don't think you would feel that you'd run out of interest very quickly. So there we go. Hopefully you found that interesting. We're still on the micro layouts, I know, but I'm still intrigued by these, especially in Engage, and especially using this Kato pocket line range, which is very reliable, smooth, and above all cheap. The pocket line is back in again now, I see, in the UK. One of those locos and a couple of wagons is only going to set you back, I think it's around £50. They were a little cheaper under the old one, but of course the prices are going up. But the trams, ironically, have come down in price, so worth looking out for those. So hopefully you've enjoyed that little layout. As I say, I think it's a nice looking layout. It's got a lot of interest there. Very nice goods yard, nice passenger station, level crossing, and everything you could want. So, interested to see what you think.